Hello everybody and welcome to my review of the 1957 science fiction classic The Incredible Shrinking Man, written by Richard Matheson, directed by Jack Arnold, and starring Grant Williams as Scott Carey. And the reason this film is considered a classic by many, I believe, is for two reasons. Number one, it is a compelling story of a human being still trying to figure out where his place in the world is and how he fits in the bigger picture, something I think a lot of people can relate to. And also it is one of the first films of any type to deal seriously with the concept of metaphysics. So, and this review will have some spoilers in it. So with that being said, I will briefly go through the plot. Basically, it's a simple premise which turns into something much greater. We start with our main character, and he's with his wife, and they are on vacation. They are on a boat. And basically what happens is some type of mysterious mist. It's never explained which it is, which makes it all the better. He comes in contact with it, and that combined with some other things he was exposed to, he finds out, makes him start to shrink, literally shrink little by little. Now, the first half hour of this film sets it up very well. It gets you to sympathize with the character. It builds slowly until he shrinks down short enough to be like in some type of little dollhouse or something. And when his wife leaves one day and the cat gets at him, let's just say this is a scary scene and a battle for survival. So basically what happens through most of the rest of this film is our main character is stuck in the basement by himself fighting for survival. Now, what this film does really well is it really builds, the character has very realistic things that he goes through. His moods change a lot in this film. He goes from, like despair to hope to anger and all these different emotions. And by the end of the film, he realizes his true place in the world. And his characterization is very believable, and we do sympathize with the character. That's what makes this film work so well. And the things that he battles to survive are things we take for granted. He has problems with a cat, with a spider, with water. He has to worry about drowning from flooding. He has to battle to find food. These are all things that, an average person probably wouldn't have too much trouble with, but because of his size physically, he has to start using his brain to survive. And another thing I really like about this film is the smaller he gets physically, it seems like the smarter and more aware of everything he is mentally, which is really, really great. I really like that. Now, obviously an important thing in this film is special effects, and truth be told, some of them hold up better than others. The cat and spider scenes work pretty well. Some of the other scenes don't hold up that well. They're obviously fake looking. There was no CGI back then. We weren't even close to that yet. They did the best they could, I believe, with what they had to work with, but I believe that the film still works very well, and that's because something that a lot of modern films, in my opinion, have forgotten is that we really care about what happens to our main character, Scott Carey, in this film. You root for him, you sympathize with him, and that makes up, you can have all the great effects you want, and yes, they do enhance a film. I like good effects myself. There's several movies I love that have them, but without great characterization and a compelling story, it doesn't matter, and this film has those things. So I believe the film does hold up for a modern audience because of that. And one more thing I have to say about this film is that I'm not going to quote it or go through it all, but the closing of this film is amazing when our lead character realizes, his true purpose and the purpose of humanity in general. This film, I think, was ahead of its time, as was Richard Matheson, and a lot of the concepts that he presents in this film. And, whether you've seen it or not, you can judge that for yourself, but I believe that whether you are someone, who studies this type of metaphysical concepts or not, I believe the film holds up either way because it is also a compelling character study about survival and using your wits to survive. So I believe this film's enjoyable for anyone. Like I said, it's a short film. It's only about 81 minutes long, I believe. And for fans of older shows like The Twilight Zone and The Outer Limits, I also recommend it. It's kind of that type of story, only fleshed out to be a longer story. So I think those people would enjoy it as well. As a matter of fact, Richard Matheson wrote many Twilight Zone episodes. And Grant, one more quick thing, Grant Williams' performance is excellent. He really convinces you of this character. So overall, this is a great film with only a few slow moments and some not great special effects in time, keeping it from being a perfect film, but there's very few of those. That's no knock on this film. And I give The Incredible Shrinking Man a 4.5 out of 5. 4.5 out of 5 recommended for anyone, and thanks for watching.